Alone in the Dark, along with Sweet Home, are most cited as inspiration for Resident Evil, a title which set in stone the survival horror genre. Yet there are many other releases throughout the late 80s and mid-90s that also followed similar paths, such as Project Firestart, Clock Tower, as well as Overblood. While often unintentionally funny today, these types of titles recreated houses of horror, chased the eerie supernatural, or looked towards future sci-fi nightmares. Hudson Soft's attempt at the genre released just over a year before Resident Evil and accompanied the launch of the PCFX home console. It stands as one of its more ambitious releases, which is not too hard on a platform that's largely filled with visual novels. While many contemporary titles in the genre were using 3D graphics in some form, the PCFX was limited to 2D visuals. Still, the developers ultimately pursued making a game that takes place within a 3D space. The console's limitations give Team Innocent an interesting aesthetic with 2D sprites moving in pre-rendered backgrounds. Looking at the cold, drab, and lifeless environments, it's easy to assume this is going for a tense atmosphere. There's frequently gloomy music during exploration, and with illegal DNA experimentation being the conflict of the story, there's definitely monsters to be had. It's the perfect formula for sci-fi horror, until someone actually talks.
じゃじゃーん、あたしが行きます。何も驚かなくったっていいじゃない。
The crew of Team Innocent is lively, spunky, and frequently seem to just be having a good time. The animated character portraits along with voice acting do a great job of selling this. Even when entirely in a foreign language, it's entertaining just to feel the vibe of the conversations. The three girls who make up the team are the result of DNA experiments themselves, with the main culprit being a man who is either their father or an equivalent figure. Their history, together with their personal ties to the antagonists, make everything treated as a known threat, which results in an atmosphere that feels more like a bunch of youngsters bantering about while on a job. Most enemies are introduced in a semi-dramatic fashion, but rarely does anyone seem shaken. A great example is the first zombie encounter. Saki, who is the main playable character, is a little panicked. At the same time, her two operators are just like, yeah, it's about right. Considering they're literally products of the same experimentation, the nonchalant vibe makes sense. That being said, Saki in general is the only character who seems to have a lot of distinct reactions. She's clearly bothered by the fact that she's pursuing her father to ultimately kill him. It results in a few outbursts of anger and nostalgia of their family life. It's quite the roller coaster ride for her. The other two characters are more one note. Lilith is calm and calculated. Ariel is peppy almost all the time. As a group, they do play off each other well. Considering they're also in the same situation as Saki, it's weird they don't seem to have nearly as much back and forth regarding their feelings. That being said, when playing foreign games like this, you're always going to lose some intricacies. What's important is that the presentation keeps it evolving. Almost every story point has some sort of visual or audio aspect to it, including anime cutscenes, animated character portraits with fully voiced dialogue, newscasts, or images associated with objects. It helps that the main plot is also clearly set up from the beginning. Without words, it becomes more about absorbing the emotion of their conflict. I'm not one to praise Japanese voice actors simply because I feel under-equipped to do so. That being said, I do think some of Saki's delivery, particularly in the late game, strongly conveys the frustration, anger, and sadness she has when confronting her father.
私が憎いか?
私たちに人としてではなく生きることの苦しみを与えたあなたを憎む!
The sheer number of events makes time scouring the environments worth it. Like a lot of early titles in the genre, you'll want to examine everything for clues. Unfortunately, Team Innocent does something a bit atypical. Instead of a search simply prompting text when available, an animation plays out every time, even if nothing is interactable, since objects aren't always portrayed in pre-rendered backgrounds. To be thorough, get ready to do a lot of this. Sometimes just running into things will trigger them, but it seems inconsistent. The missions are broken up between 3 distinct acts on different spaceships, which helps reduce the amount of trial and error exploration. When a point of interest is found, frequently cutscenes will activate to clue that you're in the right place.
いいもの見つけちゃった。
何?
There is a surprising amount of English. Doors are often labeled for key areas. Most, if not all, the computer system interfaces have no Japanese, directly asking for things like blue key. I will say that some knowledge of katakana is helpful when finding items in the inventory. Nevertheless, if you're paying attention to what's going on, looking at item pictures, as well as noting some basic information, you can mostly figure it out. Characters will literally just say things like
メインコンピュータ室に戻って。
which is a strong hint that the next objective is in the main computer room. If you do get stuck for any reason, there is an English guide online. Initially, it is an intimidating game. There are a lot of timers for some reason, though they're always generous. The checkpoints are pretty forgiving, which is helpful given that something as simple as clicking yes can suck Saki into outer space. But on revival, you're right back to the decision point. The ease of difficulty is also part of what keeps gameplay fairly low stress. There are limited resources, yet rarely is anything needed beyond fist or feet. I mean, just watch this. That's basically every fight. There are some robots that shoot, yet once they're in your sights, they're basically stunned until death. Team Innocent doesn't play well most of the time, however seldom expects player performance. It's clear the budget went more towards the environment, animated cutscenes, as well as voice acting.
忘れがひどくなったんじゃない？さっき。
うるさい。
Ultimately, it's a game about presentation. Well, most of the time. The sprite scaling doesn't always work out, and when briefly playing as Ariel, she's just a recolored Saki. But the cutscenes along with the dialogue are really the star of the show here. I'd imagine most people have some hesitation in trying to appreciate that when it's not in English. Still, Team Innocent is digestible even without comprehending the words.
やはり生きていたか。サキ、リリス、エリアル。
何